pencil to kind of sketch out my pumpkin. And, you know, pumpkins are super easy. It's just an oval and then some parentheses around the edges. So super easy to sketch a pumpkin. So the first thing I want to do is just give my pumpkin some color. Okay, so I'm going to start with this bleach sand by Americana. I already have some on my plate, and I am just going to base color in that the pumpkin in the bleach sand. That's going to be our starting color, and then we're just going to come in with our palette knives and add all sorts of craziness. Who knows what we're going to end up with. So let me see. So I'm going to just go into my bleach sand, and I'm just going to start adding that color to my canvas. So this live might take a few minutes because I don't know how crazy this is going to turn out. It might turn out fantastical. It might be a hot mess when we're done. But you know what? That's how it goes sometimes, doesn't it? That's how it bees. That's how it bees. So hang out, and we're going to do some fun stuff as soon as I get this boring part done. So I'm just adding that bottom color, our main color, to that bleach sand color is a little gunky. It's been sitting on I've been playing around with that little mini canvas, this little baby one I did, and it's been sitting there too long, so it's getting kind of dried up. But let's see if we can't make it work. And then we're also like add in a background, and that'll help us clean up the edges too, because when you use a palette knife sometimes it kind of gets a little messy. So we'll use that, we'll wait till the end to do our background. Isn't it cute? It's a little 4x4. He's a little precious. But yeah, we'll clean up the background after we're done. Let's see, let me try to get that in there. Yeah. So I'm just kind of making sure I cover up those lines that I made with my watercolor pencil, so they don't show up, even though the background paint will fix that too. So we're gonna have some fun in just a minute, I hope. We may have a disaster. I can't make any promises. Sometimes you get something in your head and you just have to try it out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We call those dogs, and I have created many a dog in my day. I got some dogs in the studio right now. Some of those you hide in the corner and hope that you'll figure out what to do with someday. Okay, so there is our starting color. So that's all I'm going to do with the paint. Well, that's not true. I just told a little fib. I'm going to get another brush, a little bit smaller one, and I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of brown color to that pumpkin stem as well, because we're gonna see what we can do with that as well. So I'm just going to add some color, just kind of real jaggedy. I got a little too much water still in my brush. My kitty cat, I don't know, and y'all might be able to hear this if I'm quiet enough, but my kitty cat is outside the door, Jelly. He does not like to be locked out of the room, and he is very angry right now, and he's sitting outside the door meowing at me. All right, so we're going to let that be. So we'll add some more oomph to that later, but we're gonna just base coat that in. Now I am going to I'm just gonna start adding color, guys. This is still kind of wet, and that's okay, but I've brought, I have a couple of palette knives. These are my little baby palette knives. You can see how small they are. They're just little small ones. It'll give me a little more control in this small area. Did you hear him, Linda? He's a meow. He is fussing right outside the door. He does not like being left out of the situation. Okay, so now it's like, what color do I start with? I think I've got like, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 colors on my palette. It's hard to see them, but I've got a couple of blues. This is lake blue and pale blue. And I have ocean green and chrome oxide green. I have white and dark titanium, and I have raw umber. So we're just gonna go back and forth. I think I'm gonna start with this, I think I'll start with this palette knife. It's a little pointy, but it's only about 3/4 of an inch. So we're gonna start with that. And I am going to just start. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm just gonna start. Thank you for the stars, loves. I'm just gonna start adding color. You know, because if it's bad, it's bad. We'll just deal with it, okay? I'm a little nervous. I'm just gonna start with some of the darker colors. And all I'm gonna do is take my palette knife and I'm gonna pat a little bit of color on the back, okay? So I've just got a tiny bit of color patted on the back of that palette knife. And I'm gonna start over here and I'm just going to very lightly, I'm barely touching the canvas. I'm just gonna kind of tickle that color on, kind of trying to stay within that one section. I really kind of, I'm not even gonna worry about it. I was gonna say something about sectioning it back off, but I'm not even gonna worry about that. We'll draw in those sections again when it's time. So this is an 8x8 Patsy. So I am just going to just continue to add some of this darker blue. This is the lake blue. And if I get outside my pumpkin lines, I'm not gonna worry about that too much because we're gonna add a background later and we'll adjust that, we'll fix that as need be. So this is still my lake blue. I just kind of want to dab in. Oh, this makes me nervous because if I make a total disaster live on the Facebook, I'll probably be so embarrassed. Life happens though, don't it? So let's just kind of add in this blue. I think I will, a little more, maybe a little here. And I'm going to wipe that off. Let me get this a little closer so I can get that off. And I'm just going to start piling on color. So bear with me. I'm going to go to my next darkest color, which is the pale blue, which is right here. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put some on the back of my knife and just pat it. And we're gonna just do the same thing. I'm gonna come right over, some over the top, some filling in. And we'll just get right up next to that stem. This is gonna be crazy. Let's get a little more. Let's see. Need a little bit more on my knife, kind of. There we go. That's kind of what you want to create is larger pits. Thank you for the sprinkles. A little bit larger pits. You don't want it all to be like real spotty like the canvas. So I need to get a little bit more on my knife as I'm working. There we go. You want like little islands of color. All right. Whew. Making me nervous. I'm gonna go back and get a little more of that lake blue because I kind of hid some of that back. And guys, I don't have a rhyme or reason for what I'm doing. I am just doing it. There's no plan. Nothing. So this is like behind the scenes what I do when nobody's looking. Okay, so let's go to our next color and we'll come back and forth as we need to. as desired. But let's go into this tealy color, which is ocean green. We'll do the same thing, get some on the back of our palette knife, and we'll just, I'm gonna twist this a little so I can just bring some of that up here. Because I do kind of want to follow the curve of those pumpkin sections. I don't want it to be like straight up and down or across. I do want it to follow the curve. So, oh my gosh, I did Perry last year. Angela, I did Perry last year, and it was the worst. Nobody came, so I sure wouldn't expected anybody to come this year. Not with the COVID. But yeah, I love vintage market days. I love doing those shows, but it was just too iffy these days. So I'm just gonna add in some of this color. Let's see, we'll do some more. We'll add like right here, right over. See, I'm going right over the top as well. Let's see. I know this looks like a hot mess so far, but trust me guys, stick with me. I promise I'm not gonna leave it a hot mess, even if we have to start over. Even if we have to do something crazy. We're not gonna leave it a hot mess. We're just gonna keep futzing until we love it. I'm gonna wipe that off, and I think what I'm gonna do is go into the, what is this? Dark titanium white, which is like a cream color. It's got a little pinky to it though, so I don't want to get too crazy, but I'm gonna just bring in a little bit of that just to push back some of that color. Let's see. And I'm wiping off my palette knife every time. I don't know if you can see me doing that, but I'm wiping it off so that I'll show you why. Because when I do this, I end up with other colors on the back of my palette knife, and I don't want to intermix those as I'm working, so I just wipe them off as I go. So let's do this. And let's see. I'm gonna go into this color that we used on the background a little bit. See if we can just push some of that back. Oh yeah. Okay, I'm trying to decide. I think I'm gonna go with my green, which is chrome oxide. So I'm gonna get a little bit of that green, and I'm gonna like hit right here. Maybe a little here, just little dabs. We'll wipe that off. Again, if you're just now coming, we don't know what we're doing. We're just doing. We're just flying by the seat of our pants and seeing what happens. Sometimes that is the best way to paint. So we're gonna just keep futzing until we love it. We'll keep layering color. We'll keep adding color. Let's see. So let's do this. I'm gonna turn this just a little bit so that I can, oh, that was a little heavy. That's okay too. Oh, here comes the kitty cat again. I'm gonna flip this upside down just for a second, or sideways, so I can follow that section right there. If I can get some paint on my brush, palette, knife, whatever this is. So I'm trying to work my sections in a little. Do you guys think I'm crazy? Are you guys looking at me going, what in the heck is going on here? What is she doing? She's making a mess. Okay, so I think I'm gonna add, really want a little bit of a mustard color. And I didn't bring the thicker paint of mustard over here, so I'm just gonna use this. I'm just gonna squirt it somewhere. And this color is called Gilded Oak. I just feel like I need a little orange. So it's getting there. No, it's kind of cool, isn't it? So I'm gonna add a little bit of white just to tone that down a little. So I got just a bit of that on my palette knife, and I'm like, oh, let's put it like right here. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Let's add a little more. Let's mix that in. I just added some white to it to tone it down just a little. So let's do... Let's get right up on this. Don't you love it when things start working out the way they are in your head? It's like, oh me. Because oftentimes they do not. I must admit. Sometimes it's like, what happened? Okay, now let me see. I think I'm gonna take some of this white and mix it in some of that ocean green and see if I can make me a little bit of a lighter ocean green color. So I'm just going crazy now. I'm just mixing colors now, just to tone that down a little. And let's go up here. See, these are really dark and in your face. You want to just tone them down just a little with some of that mixed color. Gosh, I don't know, Michelle. I would have to look at it. Let's see. Let's add a little of this over on the other side. Oh yeah. All right. I hadn't used but one palette knife. Is this crazy? Does it look crazy? Let's turn it back so we can kind of look at it with our eyeballs. I'm gonna take some of that white into the green. See if we can make us a little bit lighter green. We're just making all kinds of colors over here. Just made me a lighter version of that green. We're just gonna hit a couple of spots. Oh, I'm really starting to dig this. Let's see, what do I want to do now? Let's do one more time. A little bit of white into that lake blue. See if we can make a little bit of lighter color of that. And then I think we'll start kind of pushing things back. So we'll do, see how I made that color lighter? So that's what color it was. So let's kind of tickle that on in a couple places. We're going to redefine our sections. Oh my goodness, yes. Let's see, I do want a little bit more of that mustardy color. I think that was my favorite. So we'll mix a little bit of that, we'll bring it back in. Oh yeah. Ooh yeah. Y'all, I'm crazy. It's almost wine 30, y'all. Almost. As soon as we're done here, it's wine 30. Okay, let's put a little up here. And we can't forget to do our stem either. Okay, so now I'm gonna just start using some of the bleach sand, which is our original pumpkin color. So I'm gonna load some of that, and I'm just gonna start pushing some of this color into the background. Okay, so I'm going to just kind of tickle it over the top. And that kind of creates a really dimensional look. So when somebody looks at your piece, they're like really not sure what color you started with. It's like, what color do I do first? Because I can't tell. I'm gonna have to get some more of that on my plate. Give me one sec. Did you? Yeah, mine should have. I should have brought some wine up here, but I've been up here for a while, and I was too lazy to go back downstairs just to get the wine. So I was just like, nah, I'll paint and then I'll drink. Okay, so pat in just a little bit on the back, and I'm really just going to like run it over the top and kind of hide that background a little. It's really starting to make me happy. Super, super duper happy. Really, really, really now. Really. Oh my goodness. So I'm just using that same original color. I'll put some here. I'm going to turn this way. It's just a little easier to deal with. It's easier to go in that circular direction. Look what I did. Stuck my whole finger in it. That'll be there a month. All right. Tickle, tickle, tickle. So I'm barely touching the surface of the canvas, guys. It's just like a tickle. I put the color on the back of my knife, and I am just barely touching the surface of the canvas. Just barely. So it leaves like little pits and islands of paint. I am digging this. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there with that, and I'm gonna add a little white, I think. All right, so let's clean that off. And I have the white right here. I think I need a little bit more. So this is just titanium white. Hey, you from Texas? How you doing in Texas? You're not in South Texas, are you? Okay, oops, I got my hand all in it. I'm making a mess. I'm trying not to get paint on my shirt. Okay, so now I'm gonna just kind of do some highlighting. And so I'm gonna use the white, and if I need to go back and adjust some other color, I will. But I'm gonna use my white to highlight any like pumpkin section. So I know this back piece is a section, so I'm gonna hit just the top of that. I'm going to wipe off every time so I don't intermix colors. I'm going to hit just the tip top of that with the white. Boom. All right. And so we got a section and a section. So it's going to be about right here. So we'll do another right on the top. And we're just going to keep going right here. I don't really have much color there, but we'll add some if we need it once we're done here. And once we do our brown to add our sections back in, I think it'll all start kind of coming together, and we'll be able to kind of see what we have. All right, I'm going to turn that a little so I can manage it. Bring this down just a hair. I'm going to flip it. touch of white on the bottom. Guys, I'm starting to kind of dig this. We're gonna keep working though until I 100% dig it. So it's just a bunch of craziness right now. So let's see, we got a here. Let me just get that on the tip. So let's do right on the top of that side. Bring it down. Do it again, the next little section. And right here. Another little section. We're gonna bring this one way down. Let's go. Just barely touching. Because you don't, all these colors are still wet. And what you don't want to do is drag into them. You're just tickling it right back over the top. You don't want to drag into them because see how I just smeared that? You don't want to muddy up your colors. So you want to be real careful about doing this super light. All right, so now I need to look at it with my eyes. I think I want some, I'm gonna take a little scoop of this green, if I can get into it, over here into this brown, and kind of make me a new color, just a darker green. Might have to get some more. And I want to do a little bit of shadowing around the underside of this stem. Just shadow it up a little. All right. Okay, now I'm gonna go back into that, I think this bleach sand again, and just do this, just go back over a couple of spots. I'm just layering and layering and layering. So yeah, this is something you would just have to do on your own and just be like, okay, I'm gonna start with my favorite colors. I always love the blues. And you just start layering. And if it starts to look like muddy or something, just stop what you're doing and let it dry. And then come back to it once it's dry so you're not completely muddying up your colors. Because that's what happens to me sometimes. I just get ahead of myself and my colors start to muddy up. So I know then that it's time to just walk away. I'm gonna add a little bit of that blue back in. It's time to walk away and just let it dry. So far, I'm okay with this though. So let's do this. Add a little smidge. Let me see. There. Okay. Now I think I'm going to have to start adding some definition. So far it's just kind of a hot mess. It's a good hot mess though. And I think before I do, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go into my brown a little. And just with the tip, I'm going to get a different palette knife. This one's a little smaller. Just with color on the very tip, I'm going to come in and add some brown. Then I'm going to add a little bit of white. Can you guys see that? The difference it's making? Add a little more brown. It had a little too much white still in it. Let me see. A little brown, actually, this time. Maybe we'll do some green. I don't really have a lot of green. Let me add some more. So thumbs up or give me some hearts for anybody who's joined our 5-day sunflower challenge. If you've joined, give me a heart. Let me know you coming. All right, I'm gonna flip this upside down. Yay! Look at all you guys, I'm so excited. All right, I'm gonna pull this down in there a little. Go back into some brown. See, this kind of stuff is like it's hard. It's easy to follow, but it's hard to like. It's like there's no exact science to this. It's kind of like just doing an abstract pumpkin. So inevitably, somebody's going to ask me how I did it, and I'm going to be like, I have no idea. Don't ask me. I just did. All right, so that looks pretty good. Let me show you close up. Can you see it? That looks pretty good so far, doesn't it? So I think what I need to do is kind of like define my pumpkin sections, and I'm going to use a longer blade for that. I think it might be beneficial. Okay, I'm going to try this one, which is a long skinny blade, and I am going to use the brown. So I'm just going to scoop some of this brown onto, whoops, the side of my palette knife, and I don't want to like do all the way down a perfect section, but let's just kind of pop in some brown to follow that line to define that section. So let's go over here. We'll do this side. So it's like right here. And that's gonna help, it's gonna kind of help visualize it, I think. Make it look a little better. It's starting to really come together, isn't it? And let's see, I'm going to add a little bit of that brown right down here as well. All right, there's one section. So then we have right there, it's kind of, I have to kind of find it with my eyeballs. So let's scoop some up on the side, and I'm going to start at the bottom because I can see that where that section is, so might like start like this. There we go. That'll help me. A little guidance. So we'll just kind of lay it down. Oh, that is really starting to look kind of cool. All right, I think I'm gonna add, don't think I'm crazy, but I'm gonna add some of this mustard to the side and just hit it with the mustard on the side of that brown. I'm making a hot mess, aren't I? Is this a hot mess or is this a hot mess? Y'all be like, what is that girl doing? She done lost her cookies. She done lost her mind. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna add a little more of this mustard color here too, because I just like it. I just like it. I can't help myself. There. What do you think so far? We working it? I am going to use my pen to outline the outside edges with brown, so I'm not going to worry too much about that outside section. But let's go over here. I'm going to flip it upside down because it'll just be a little bit easier. And let's go over here and do this section. So let's do here. Hello, Annetta, Cheryl, and Pamela. How are you? So let me just add in a little. See, I got a little crazy there, but you know what? I don't even care. Do you care? I don't even care. We're gonna throw in a little bit of mustard between there. And let's see. Goodness, guys, this is kind of cool looking, isn't it? Wasn't sure if it was going to work out. You know how that goes. So, let's see. I think I'm going to add some of this oxide, dark titanium white actually, just in a couple of spots. It's a little bit, it's the darkest cream color I have on my plates, just to kind of shade some of that back. And I do still have some of that dark brown as well on my palette knife, so whew. Let's see, the white. All right, I need to like stand up and look away. Karen, it'll be right here in this group. You can watch it on my Art Shattered page anytime you want. Okay, so I think I'm happy with this. I think it does need a little something else, but I think I already know exactly what it needs. But this has to dry first, okay? So what I'm gonna do is put my plate aside and put all my little palette knives in the water so they don't get icky. I don't have to fight them later. I'm gonna put this aside. I'm gonna grab my brown pen from somewhere. Let's see. I don't think this is the one I want. Maybe it is. This is called a graphic pigment pen. It's an archive quality, so if we do resin over the top of this, it won't make the ink run. So it's brown. It's a #1 graphic, and I'm gonna use it to give my pumpkin a little more definition right on the outside lines. So I'm just gonna use it to kind of outline, okay? I'm not gonna outline it like a pencil line. I'm just gonna make some swoops here, just to give it that definition it kind of needs here. That finishing touch. Let's go over here. Okay, so let me see. I think I want to do one more thing because I can't walk away. I'm having walk away problems. I think I need a little bit more white, like it's the light coming in. I think I need a little bit more white, like a solid bit, like right there. Maybe even right here. And here's what we're gonna do. Here is what we're gonna do. So I think we need to glaze this with antiquing glaze. Does anybody know what antiquing glaze is? So let me tell you what antiquing glaze is. Antiquing glaze, this is a product you can buy at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It's called Liquitex Slow Dry Blending Medium. And if I take some of this and put it in a little cup and I add some dark brown color to it, like about maybe 2 tablespoons and then a teaspoon, it's gonna create a glazing medium. And what the glaze does is it makes the brown translucent, okay? It makes it translucent and it makes it easier to manipulate and move around. So I think what we're gonna do, I'm gonna let this dry just for a few seconds while I talk to you about the glaze. Then I'm gonna fill in a little bit of a background. We're gonna let it dry, and then we're gonna come back tomorrow and we're going to glaze it with a dark brown and some glaze. And what it's gonna do is like antique this. So it kind of pulls all the colors together and makes it all cohesive. It's not the same as Floetrol, but you could probably use Floetrol as a glaze. I've never done it, so don't be mad at me if it doesn't work, but I see no reason why Floetrol would not work for that. So real quick, let's do this. I'm gonna take some green, which is crocodile, right here on my, I'm gonna change plates because that one is out of hand. That one is out of hand. And get a different one. This is how my plates go, guys. See, this is another plate, still dirty. I'm gonna take some green and some white. And this is just white acrylic craft paint. And I'm gonna take a big brush, like this is a 1-inch flat. I'm gonna wet it. And I'm gonna kind of fill in my background a little, okay? I'm gonna start with white. So I'm gonna load my brush with the white, and we're just going to paint really close to our pumpkin without touching. Paint on the white. So I'm gonna do the top section, and then we'll do the bottom section. So I'm gonna do white. Come over here, do white. And now I'm gonna dip into some of that green. And we're gonna just blend some of that green into the white. Let's see, I'm gonna get close but not touch. So it's just a very loosey-goosey, no fancy work. Just getting a little bit of color on that background. Let's get some right in there. All right, hang on, I'm gonna clean that up just a little bit where I got it into the stem a little. All right, and then now we're gonna do the bottom. So I'm gonna go back into my white. I'm gonna go along the bottom. So what I'm gonna do, we're gonna glaze this tomorrow, and I tell you what, if it dries quickly, I might come back tonight. Because I like my Sundays off, but I think we need to do this because we also are going to add glass. We're going to add some vitrigraph glass to the bottom, and some glass, some crushed glass and some glass chips and all kinds of stuff to the bottom. So it's like, it looks like it's sitting in a pumpkin patch. We go in and get a little bit of green. I am going to go a little bit darker, so this, it looks like it's kind of sitting in its shadow. Even though probably a lot of that's going to get covered up. All right, guys, look at there. That was super fun. Okay, so listen, I love this, but I do think it needs that antiquing glaze. So I'm gonna let this dry. Oh look, I'm gonna do this one real quick too, if you guys don't mind. If you're done, I'll tell you what we're gonna do, and if you want to sign off, that'll be fine. I'm gonna do this one too. Color in the background on this one, so we can do them both at once. So I think tomorrow we'll come back when this is dry, and I'll do an antiquing glaze on the pumpkins, so it'll kind of tie everything together, and I'll show you how to do an antiquing glaze, and kind of explain to you what that's all about. And then on Monday we'll come back, and I'm trying to talk and paint. On Monday we'll come back and add all our glass bits. That'll be super fun. So let me add some green to the bottom of this one. Give that sucker a place to sit. And we'll bring our white around. We need to pin this one too. All right, so I'm going to take the black version of that pen and just make some lines. Now we could add a leaf, but I'm not going to at this late juncture. I probably should have, but we're gonna leave it be. I like it the way it is. Let's see, I think I missed a spot right there. Okay, so what we're going to do tomorrow is we're gonna let this dry, because that's a ton of paint on this pumpkin, a ton. So we're gonna let that dry. So for our antiquing glaze, now if you're in the Shattered Circle, you know we have used aqua cream in the past, and that works really well, and that's a product I've used for probably 25 years, and I love it. But it can be a little pricey, and if you're only going to glaze one or two things, you probably are better off getting one of these little cheapy things. So they're pretty much, Yesenia, is that right? Pretty much any clear antiquing medium is going to work pretty well. You just might need to practice a little bit, because it's hard to know. Hey, Donna Payne McNear, how are you? So this is Liquitex Slow Dry Blending Medium, okay? So it's a blending glaze. So what this does is you mix it with paint, and this is raw umber. So you mix these two together, and what it does is thins down the brown color to where it's more translucent, and it also slows the drying time of the paint, so you have time to manipulate it and move it around and remove what you don't want on your piece. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we do that real quick. I'm only going, for this piece and my little baby piece over here, we're only probably going to need about a tablespoon, maybe a little more of glaze. So I'm going to just squirt in like that much. That's about half an ounce, okay? That's probably too much. And you can see that it looks kind of milky and runny, and that's okay because it dries perfectly clear. It's just the way it looks, okay? So it is going to dry clear. So now I'm going to take my colorant, which is this brown raw umber color, and I want to show you real quick first this. I'm going to put a little bit on this plate. So the straight raw umber right out of the container is going to look like this. See how dark and solid colored that is? It's just really opaque and solid colored. So I'm going to show you how to change that. Okay, so you're going to add, I'm going to add just a little bit at a time and show you gradually how you're going to get to that color. So I'm going to add maybe a half a teaspoon, and I'm going to stir it up with my stick if I can find it. So I'm going to stir that chocolate in. Stir in that chocolate, that one quite enough. Hang on. I want it to turn brown. That was probably a full teaspoon. I'm not very good at measuring stuff. Okay, so it's starting to kind of turn brown. So look how the brown gets now. It's still not quite enough color. So we're going to add some more. Another teaspoon. Then we're going to start to get there. Aw, Lori, you're so sweet. So now I'm going to dip my finger in it, get a little on my finger, and you can see how gradually we're starting to get a little color. I think there's actually more color than that. I just didn't get any. All right. So it's starting to be translucent. I think I'm going to add one more because we don't want it too dark. We don't want it like this. We want it to be this color, but translucent enough that our color from our pumpkin shows through and it doesn't, you just black out everything. So we'll mix that up. I'm going to stick my finger in, and this is how I always test. I always do a little bit of color at a time and then put it on something white so you can see how much color you got going on there. I think that's almost it. I'm going to add a little bit more. Let me do it right here. Yeah, we're going to add a little bit more. It usually comes out to about 20% color, 80% of the medium. So let's stir that in. Let's try it out again. It should have a little bit more color. There we are. But still be translucent. There's a little boogie in there too. So I think that's really good. So that's a lot of glaze too. That's probably enough to do like 5 or 6 pieces. I've made way too much. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way and we're going to start with our little baby. All right, so what I've done is cut a piece of t-shirt out of an old t-shirt. So I have an old white t-shirt and I just cut a section of that off. And we're going to use that to remove the glaze. And I'm going to grab a brush from somewhere. Where's my brushes? Okay, I'm going to use a chip brush, which is like a 2-inch chip brush, because it just gets it on faster, and then you'll be able to get it off faster. All right? Yes, Margarita, it will be. You just come back when we're done and watch it from the beginning. So I've got the glaze on my brush now, and I'm literally just going to scrub it in all over. And you're looking at it thinking, oh no, it's ruined, right? And I will do the sides, but I'm going to work on the top first. So it's like, oh no, it's completely ruined. It's all brown and icky now. So, but I'm going to take my little piece of terry cloth or t-shirt cloth, and I'm going to make like a little pad. All the little loose floppy ends, I'm going to turn under and make like a nice soft little pad. And here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take my pad and wipe, 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 wipe. I'm going to go back this way a little. And now we've antiqued that just that fast. So you can see kind of the difference. It just kind of tones all the colors down and marries them together. So yes. Yeah, you can use just watered down. And in the Sunflower Challenge, we're going to go over all the options extensively. And you can just use watered down paint, but you have to work really fast because the water will make your paint dry fast. You don't have quite as much open time. So you have to be careful with that. So I'm just gonna take my dirty end and finish up my sides a little. So it is all the same. A little bit more. Just wipe it off. So basically you're putting it on and you're wiping it off. Put it on, wipe it off. All right, voila. So there's our baby pumpkin. Is that not cute? I'm trying to get a little closer. So that's the difference in the antiquing medium. Okay, so now we're just gonna do the same thing on a larger scale to our bigger pumpkin, okay? What I'm gonna do first though, is I'm gonna go ahead and hit these edges. Just go ahead while we're on the sides and get these edges done. So I'm just gonna dip, brush it on. And notice one thing, I'm not painting it on slow. I'm not like being methodical like I'm painting. I'm just scrubbing it on and wiping it off. If you take too much time applying the glaze, then it's gonna start to tack up and be harder to remove. So don't fiddle fart around, just get it on and wipe it off. One more side. It's on this page, Susan, from yesterday. So just go back and look at yesterday's live. Wipe off. And we're ready to do the top. So watch this. Thank you for the stars. So now I'm just gonna take my same brush. We're gonna dip in. There's a little brush hair. It's pretty, isn't it? Watch that difference. Watch the difference. We're gonna dip in, and I'm just going to scrub it on. And the reason I'm scrubbing it on is so it gets in all the crevices from that texture that we applied yesterday. We used heavy-bodied paint, and so it has some dimension and texture to it. And we want that glaze to get all down into that, okay? So what a disaster, right? We've ruined it. Nope. Take your little piece of cloth. I'm gonna find a clean spot. Tuck all your ends under. I'm gonna go my sides. And I'm gonna go ahead and wipe off around the part of the canvas that we didn't have the pumpkin on. It's kind of just bare canvas. So let's wipe that off because it generally wants to stick there the hardest. So I'm gonna wipe that off down here. And now I'm actually gonna go in the same direction as my pumpkin section. So I'm just gonna follow that section around. And then I'm gonna follow this section around. And you can take off as little or as much as possible as you desire. So here I took off a lot, okay? So you can see that the white popped up a little bit. And if I go over here and use a little bit lighter pressure, you can see that I'm not taking off as much here. So it's all about how much you want on or not. I do want a little bit more than that. I got a little aggressive. So we're gonna wipe. I'm gonna come over here and wipe. Change your spot if you're not pulling off very much. Wipe, wipe. Then we'll wipe off that center. And voila. Look at the difference that makes. It just kind of marries all those colors together. And you can come back in and you can keep wiping this off as much as you want. If you wiped off a little too much, just add it back. Just add it back, but you need to do it while it's still wet. You don't want to do it while it's dry because it'll make a mess. And if you want to like take more off in a couple of spots, just come up and like wipe away just those highlights. And look, I got a little hair. Let me get that off. So there we are. just like that. Let me find my camera. I'm crazy, y'all. So just like that, you have glazed it, you've antiqued it, dirtied it up a little, married all your colors together, and that brown glaze sticks in the crevices. Let me get a little close up. So it sticks in the crevices of all that texture and kind of just lays in there, and it really looks super cool. I'm gonna take a really nice close-up picture of this and post it as soon as we get off of here. Let me see, I wanna touch up just a little. So you probably have about, depending on what you're using, you probably have about 10 minutes to work with it. And then you just need to walk away and leave it alone, depending on exactly what you're using as your antiquing glaze. Okay, so here is our cute little pumpkin, and we also made a little baby one too. So you have everything but your resin. Debbie, you know, you can get that. I think they sell that at Hobby Lobby now, the little small size, and it's over in the art section. And sometimes it really says on the container that it is, you know, you can't use a coupon with it. But if you catch them on a good day, they'll give you that coupon. So it don't hurt to try. That's what I'm saying. I will always try. Hope it's the new girl in town, right? Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is go ahead and add some embellishments to this. And I wanna show you these cute things. Okay, I wanna get a plate and show them to you those so you can actually see them, because they're hard to see on that colored pumpkin. So look at this. This is called vitrigraph, and it is made of glass, and it's like glass stringers. They pull it like taffy and make these curvy, fun, let me show you a big one. They make these curvy, fun shapes out of glass. Look at this one. Let's get a great big one out. Hang on, I got a whole bag full. But look at this. Look at this. These are so much fun. Oh my goodness, look at this one. Crazy pants. So we're gonna use a few of those smaller ones, the broken off ones, in our pumpkin. And we're gonna use maybe a few pieces of the glass chips. And Tisa, is that how you pronounce your name? If it's not, my apologies in advance. But this particular size is an 8x8. You can pretty much find it all day long at Michael's or Hobby Lobby. The sunflower piece is a 12x12, and you can find that pretty much all day long as well at the same place. Those are very common sizes, so they're not really hard to find at all. Doris, the stringers I purchased on eBay, or not eBay, on Etsy. Just do a search for vitrigraph, vitrigraph. Yes, Michael's actually have them on sale right now, the canvases, and Hobby Lobby is having a sale on Master's Touch, which is, you can get modeling paste, you can get the glaze that we're going to use on our sunflower, and we used here. Almost both stores, almost all their art supplies are on sale, so it's a great time to be making art, okay? The curvy pieces are vitrigraph, and I get them on Etsy. Just do a search on Etsy for vitrigraph, V-I-T, hang on, I'm gonna put it in here. Etsy, Vitra, I can't spell. No, that was wrong, so ignore that. Etsy. V-I-T-R-I-G-R-A-P-H. Send. There. That's where you get the glass curvy things. Aren't they cute? They're so fun. So I'm just going to start laying out what I'm going to put on these. I'm not going to put any glass on this because it's just a tiny little 4x4, but we are going to add some resin to that. So let's go ahead and just get this started. So I think all my little glass bits I'm going to put on one side, all these tall things, and then we will add some other stuff along the bottom. So let's just kind of figure out that part. I'm gonna overlap them a little, squeeze them in here and there, depending on how they lay. I think we need to flip that one. And what I'll do too, once I get started, is I will take these pieces and make sure they're really good and covered with resin. And then we will just take great care in making sure it doesn't get busted up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm an opposite numbers kind of girl, so I think we're gonna stick to that. I love the way that looks. We had 6. I don't do even numbers very well. So now, these are called glass chips. Hello, Jerry. These are called glass chips. I sell these on my website. They're just little blown glass scraps. My website is artshattered.com if you want. I have some, I posted some today. So I'm gonna use a little bit of this in here too. Yeah, I used to live in a very rural place as well, Tisa, and it was crazy pants. Somebody answer, is somebody in my group here, will you answer the glass pieces questions? So the green ones come from Etsy. It's called vitrigraph. These pieces I sell on my website, and this glass I sell on my website too. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit of this clear tempered glass right along the bottom, and I like using clear because it allows you to add the glass feature without hiding anything you painted. So all the painting, everything will show right through that glass and it won't hide anything that you did. But I am gonna get a little bit of the green and add it right under our little green over here. I'm just gonna add some of that green, and that'll kind of hide the bottoms of the stems so they don't just end funny. So we'll add a little bit of that there. I didn't know. I'm being too nitpicky now. Okay. A little bit of that. So there's kind of our little grassy knoll where our pumpkin's sitting. So these are glass chips that you see right here to the other, on the other side of my pumpkin. I sell these on my website, and I'm just going to add in a couple of these. I love this great big blue one. Is that not fantastical? And I want to see if that's too much, and I don't think it is. I think we're going to add that one in. Then I have this pearly one. I kind of hand-picked these. We'll add that one in. And maybe one more. Maybe we'll go with, actually I think I'll do a little blue piece over here, and then we'll add a little green one here. I think the pumpkin is too, do you think that's too dark? Do you think the orange is too much? Let me see. Maybe we'll do it over here instead of that. Oh, look, is that too much? Hey, Patsy. I think I'm digging that orange. I think I'm digging it. So I have 3 on this side. I have 1 over here to kind of balance it. We good to go? I think so. I'm gonna put these back in my bag. Save them for next time. Love these bits. They kind of make or break your little piece sometimes. They're fantastical. So we are ready to resin. And let's see if we can get started on that. I like the orange too. So I'm gonna elevate my canvas with my blocks. So I'm just gonna raise it up a little, put my blocks under here. Then I'm gonna push my blocks under to make sure they're tucked up under the canvas. Boom, boom. And now we are ready to resin. I think that's gonna be fantastical. Okay, so let me get my gloves on. If you're just getting here, you missed my spillage. I made a little spill. Thank you, Paula. They were so cheap. They came like one color. Like the silver was one pack and it was like $10. And then the platinum was another pack. And I just mixed them all together. I love them. And I've had them on for about a month. I don't even take them off to shower and they're holding up really well. So they are pretty cute, aren't they? I'm the kind of jewelry girl who it's like I only wear what I never have to take off. Like my earrings that are in my ears, yeah, I'll leave them in 24/7. They're just little diamonds. And yeah, because if I have to take it on and off, I'm probably not going to do it. Okay, so what I have is, let me grab this cup. I have my art resin. Art resin is what I use exclusively. It is a 2-part epoxy that is a 50-50 mix. So you mix 50% resin, 50% hardener. You can't weigh it. You have to use it as a mix. So we're going to use this. And I've already pre-poured and then spilled and pre-poured again. So I have 3/4 of an ounce of hardener. We're going to just dump that in my cup. And I'm using this mask applicator to dig it out of my cup because I want to make sure I get every teeny bit I can out of here so that it's a proper mix. So we're going to scrape all that out. And then we'll dump that in the trash. And hey, Judy, you did. Then we'll take the resin, do the same thing. We'll just pour it. We're going to scrape our cup, make sure we get all the goods out. Is Rima here? Rima. Colette, are you hanging around? Can somebody time for me so I can yak? Yesenia, is that how you pronounce your name? I apologize if it's not. Do my very best. I'm a Southern girl, so I don't know how to talk for the most part. It is always recommended that you wear a mask and protect your skin when you're working with resins. I've been using this for about 8 years and I hardly ever, thank you, Judy. I hardly ever wear one. My room is ventilated, but I will never tell you not to. You need to follow the directions on whatever resin you're using and protect yourself. Some of us are more susceptible to the smells and the toxins, but art resin, if you can see, has no BPA, no VOC, no COV, and it's a non-hazmat resin, and it's made in the good old USA. Okay, I'm starting to stir, whoever's timing me. So I got to stir this for 3 minutes, so I'm just going to stir while I talk. So yes, it is a non-toxic resin, but I would suggest that you wear a mask, eye protection, protection on your hands. If you get it on your hands, soap and water immediately. You need to follow the recommendations on the resin bottle. Do as it says, not as I say. So yes, you always need to protect yourself. I've been using this for a long time and I'm pretty haphazard about it. And, you know, someday it might kick me in the booty. But I just pour and pour and pour. So I am stirring slowly and methodically scraping the sides of my cup and the bottom. You don't want to stir real fast because it creates a ton of bubbles when you do that. So you want to just stir nice and slow. Scrape your sides for 3 whole minutes. Don't cheat yourself, because if you don't mix this properly, or if you don't measure it properly, you're going to have a sticky mess, and then you'll never do that again. Because it ain't fun when you make a mess. So hello. Hello, newbies. Hello, hello. Hello, Melinda. Hello, Carlene. How are you? Hello, Yvonne. So there are lots of resins out there, guys, and some of them are awful. Some of them are super toxic, and some of them will turn yellow like within a week or so. So if you're looking at using something besides art resin, do your research. Look it up on YouTube or on the interweb and see what they say about it, because not all resins are created equal. They're really not. I've used resin for about 15 years, and the resins I used 15 years ago were awful, and they will yellow so quick, and they're hazmat, and you have to wear like a respirator mask. Lord, we can't be doing that these days. For me, for the art resin, just a mask and in a well-ventilated area. Thank you, Colette. A well-ventilated area. Protect your skin, protect your eyes, protect your breath. Thank you, Diana. You're so sweet. I know, it's so much fun to come back the next day. It's like Christmas morning every time to come back, and it's all dried up and shiny and beautiful, because the resin does make a difference. Even though this is super pretty right now, adding that touch of resin, and some people call it a glass coat, it really makes the color pop, and it's just a little something special, in my opinion. So that's why even when I don't add glass, I'm going to add a smidge of resin. Yes, Elaine, me too. Well, I'm going to leave it anyway, Colette. I'm just going for it. It's not as big as it looks in the picture because the camera's kind of angled. Thank you, Colette. The camera is kind of angled, so it's not as big as it looks in the picture, because I can see what you're seeing on your screen. Gotcha. I can see what you're seeing on the screen, and I can see where you would think that, but it's really not so big. All right, so I'm gonna do my glass first and make sure it's covered really well, okay? So I'm just gonna use my applicator, and I'm gonna make sure all of that vitrigraph is nice and covered, especially this one that's sticking up. I want to make sure it's nice and covered. It helps to make it stronger because this stuff does kind of break easy. So the resin kind of increases its durability and, makes it a little bit stronger so it doesn't break quite so easy. So I'm going to get that covered really well. I'm dripping. Cover, cover, cover. Now we'll do all this glass at the bottom. So I'm just gonna sprinkle it over. And I like to go left to right or top to bottom so I know the direction I'm going, so I never get lost. So I'm gonna go from left all the way to the right, so I know what I've covered and what I haven't. And when it's right under your nose, it's pretty easy to tell, because when it has resin on it, it does turn a little, it looks wet and glossy. So you can kind of tell. I'm gonna lift up this blue piece real quick and make sure that I have resin underneath it since it's a little bigger. I don't want any of that to be loose and clanking around. All right, now we'll keep going. Almost there. And you can see where I've already resined, where the clear glass is, I'll come back to that, where the clear glass is becoming even more translucent, so it doesn't cover up any of that artwork. All right, so we got all of that glass covered, I believe. So now I'm just going to use my spatula, and I'm going to spread it around and cover this entire piece. I love this little thing. It's so cool. So we'll cover our whole piece. Oh, so pretty. Guys, I wish you could see this up close and personal. It is way better in person than it is on that computer screen, I promise. Wow. I'm not gonna have very much. So I made an ounce and a half. So I'm not gonna have very much left to do my pumpkins, but that's okay. We're gonna probably do something again tomorrow, and we'll do what we can every day until they're done. So let me tuck in there. Make sure all that is covered. All right, I'm gonna hit my edges a little. Now on a piece like this, you really don't even have to worry about the bubbles because there's so much texture there that you can't even see the bubbles, but I'm gonna hit it just for fun because I like to do it when I'm online anyway. So here is our torch we're gonna use. You do not have to use this kind of a torch. And you can use a creme brulee torch or a heat gun or even a blow dryer. You just need to use it properly, which means you don't let the fire touch your art piece. It's the heat that pops the bubbles, and you don't like hone in on one spot. You want to keep that torch moving at all times. So now I'm going to scooch this over after I'm sure I've got everything covered. I'm going to scooch this one over a little.